Imagine walking onto a red carpet, surrounded by flashing cameras, only to look a reporter in the eye and tell them that none of this is real and that you do not exist. For 30 years, we watched the rubber face and the manic energy, but deep down, we all felt the same thing, that it was a mask. At 61, Jim Carrey has finally stopped running and confirmed the one truth Hollywood tried to hide, a revelation that changes every movie you've ever seen him in. What if the man who made the entire world laugh was secretly screaming for help, using his own face as a human shield? We always suspected it. We joked about his eccentricities, whispered about his sudden outbursts, and watched in confusion as he slowly withdrew from the spotlight. But what if his bizarre behavior wasn't a breakdown at all, but a deliberate, calculated extraction from a toxic system? When Jim Carrey stepped onto the red carpet at the Harper's Bazaar Icons party, the media expected the usual high-energy antics. Instead, they got something that felt more like a hostage video. He circled the interviewer like a predator, declaring that there was no meaning to the event, no meaning to the icons, and ultimately, no such person as Jim Carrey. The footage went viral instantly. Some laughed it off as classic Jim, while others whispered that he had finally lost his mind. But the truth is far more unsettling. He wasn't losing his mind. He was actively trying to destroy the very concept of himself. This public unraveling wasn't a sudden glitch in his programming. It was the explosive culmination of a 40-year-old internal war. But what if the industry he conquered was actively weaponizing his pain to make billions, knowing exactly what it was doing to his sanity? Pause and think about that. Let me know in the comments. Do you think Hollywood exploits its stars' mental struggles for profit, or do they only care when the cameras stop rolling? To understand the gravity of his sudden disappearance from Hollywood, we have to look at the exact moment the veneer began to crack. For decades, Carrey was the undisputed king of physical comedy, earning unprecedented $20 million paychecks. But behind the scenes, his co-stars and directors were starting to notice a terrifying pattern. He wasn't just acting, he was disappearing into his roles to an unhealthy degree, desperately running away from the void inside his own chest. For 20 years, Universal Pictures buried a treasure trove of behind-the-scenes footage from the filming of the 1999 biopic Man on the Moon. They didn't hide it because it was boring. They hid it because they were terrified it would ruin Jim Carrey's reputation forever. On that set, Carrey did not just play Andy Kaufman. He claimed he was possessed by him. He refused to answer to his own name, terrorized the crew, and pushed his director to the absolute brink of despair. When the footage was finally released in the documentary Jim and Andy, the world saw a man who had completely fractured his own psyche. But here is the terrifying twist that nobody saw coming. Carrey later admitted that when the movie ended, he literally forgot who Jim Carrey was. He looked in the mirror and realized he had spent his entire life playing a character named Jim Carrey to escape his own relentless, suffocating depression. If you look closely at his most iconic roles, the signs were always there, hidden in plain sight. In The Mask, he plays a repressed, miserable man who can only express his true, chaotic desires by putting on a literal green face. In The Truman Show, he plays a man trapped in a synthetic, fabricated reality where everyone is lying to him, desperately trying to break through the wall of a fake sky to find something real. These weren't just characters. They were subconscious distress signals. Carrey has since revealed that he fought a quiet, agonizing battle with clinical depression for over 40 years, relying on heavy doses of Prozac just to keep the darkness at bay. But there came a point where the pills stopped working and the masks began to melt away. Which begs a chilling question. If the world's most famous entertainer was secretly living in a nightmare of his own making, how many other beloved icons are currently wearing a mask just to survive the night? This realization led to what Carrey calls his deep rest philosophy. He began to challenge the very nature of depression itself. Instead of viewing it as a chemical imbalance or a personal failure, Carrey proposed a radical new theory. He argued that depression is actually your body's rebellion against the avatar you've created. Your body is telling you, I don't want to play this character anymore. I am tired of trying to hold up this fake image in this theatrical world. It is not depression. It is a demand for deep rest. He decided to let the character of Jim Carrey die so that the human being inside him could finally live. This wasn't just a philosophical shift. It translated into a sudden, hard boundary with the industry that made him. During a routine promotional interview for Sonic the Hedgehog 2 in 2022, the interviewer brought up his future projects. Without warning, Carrey dropped a bombshell. He calmly announced he was retiring. He stated that he had had enough, and was completely content with a quiet, simple life of painting and spiritual solitude. The interviewer laughed, assuming it was another bit, but Carrey's face remained deadpan. He was entirely serious. The Hollywood machine, which thrives on endless sequels, reboots, and constant public consumption, was left stunned. A $20 million movie actor was simply walking away, leaving millions on the table. But what if this retirement wasn't just a peaceful departure, but a desperate escape from a looming industry threat that he saw coming before anyone else? Think about how easily Hollywood replaces its aging stars. Tell me in the comments. Do you think Jim Carrey walked away at the perfect time, or did the industry force his hand? The truth is, Carrey's retirement coincided with a massive shift in how the entertainment industry operates. As digital avatars, artificial intelligence, and corporate-driven franchises began to dominate, the need for raw, unpredictable human energy like Carrey's began to shrink. He saw the writing on the wall. He realized that the industry didn't want Jim Carrey the artist. They wanted Jim Carrey the commodity, and he refused to let them turn his soul into a franchise. Instead of acting, Carrey locked himself in his art studio, pouring his manic energy into massive, haunting paintings. If you analyze his artwork, you see a striking, almost disturbing recurring theme. His canvases are filled with distorted faces, melting features, and blinding colors that clash with dark, empty voids. It is the visual representation of a mind trying to paint its way out of a prison. In his short documentary, I Needed Color, Carrey explained that art was the only medium where he didn't have to worry about what people wanted from him. There was no director, no script, and no audience to please. But even in his isolation, the ghost of his past continues to haunt him. The public still demands the funny man. They still wanted to do the Grinch face or repeat lines from Dumb and Dumber. They want the mask, completely ignoring the man who bled to create it. But here is the most disturbing realization of all. If we, the audience, were the ones demanding he keep the mask on, does that make us accomplices in his lifetime of quiet suffering? It forces us to reevaluate how we consume entertainment and the human cost of our laughter. For 30 years, we demanded that Jim Carrey perform, scream, bend his body, and twist his face into impossible shapes for our amusement. We rewarded his manic episodes with box office gold, while ignoring the clear cries for help embedded in his work. We wanted the clown, and we didn't care if the man inside was dying. Today, at 61, Jim Carrey lives a highly reclusive life, surrounded by his paintings and the quiet stillness he spent a lifetime running from. He has successfully unmasked himself, leaving Hollywood behind to find the peace that a $100 million fortune could never buy. The rubber-faced comedian we thought we knew is gone, replaced by a philosopher who looks at his past fame not as a triumph, but as a survival mechanism. He luckily survived. The next time you watch The Mask, or see Truman Burbank sailing toward the edge of his artificial world, you won't just see a masterpiece of comedy. You will see a man desperately signaling his escape route. If you want to understand the dark truth of what really happens when the cameras stop rolling in Hollywood, hit that subscribe button and watch our next video on the hidden costs of fame. What do you think? Was Jim Carrey's manic energy a gift to the world, or a curse he had to pay for with his own identity? Let's talk in the comments.